Hello and welcome back to the Battle Room. My name is, of course, the Battle Room. And today I am joined by the teams from yet another grassroots tournament. And this time we have the Victory Road May Challenge number 4. Basically, Victory Road is hosting these tournaments every single weekend for substantial amounts of prize money. I believe this one was around $2,000 worth of winnings. So it's a good way to practice against some of the best players in the world for money, right? That's usually it takes money, but when money is involved, we get some good teams and we get some people trying their hardest. So it's always a good way to see kind of how the meta is progressing. So let's take a peek at these teams, talk about them, and figure out where we're going, because this week is the first North American regional, and then the week after is the first European regional. So it's crunch time, baby. We're finally about to jump into these Pokemon Champions live tournaments, which I couldn't be more hyped for. And then 2 weeks after that is, or I guess it's like we have Indy, the European regional, I don't know where it is, and then New Orleans, right? So we have 3 huge Pokemon Champions tournaments with CP, with Worlds Invites on the line. So it's going to be very, very hype. And we're going to see some of the best players in the entire world trying their best to win these tournaments, which is going to be insane on our new game. So with that all being said, let's talk about what we've seen and where we can expect the meta to go. I feel very, very well practiced and very well informed on the current metagame, and it's something, dude. It's something right now. I think it is very much a Charizard-centric format. I think, like, briefly, I don't think they have the user stats yet. No user stats. But briefly, it's very Charizard focused, right? Charizard, Basculegion, we know who the heavy hitters are. This Glimmora team has hit the metagame like a truck. It's everywhere. It's influencing all these different types of teams. Whimsicott is on top. You should probably subscribe. So the first team we're going to talk about is this Charizard Sylveon team with Aerodactyl. So this was a team that Stefano used to get, like, I believe it was definitely double finalists. I don't remember if he won, but I know he got second place in the last Victory Road tournament. So this team has been very, very good to him. It's very, very good to others. So what I think makes this one so strong is, like, currently, right, we're seeing a ton of Whimsicott, a ton of Glimmora, and one of the Pokemon that actually answers them the best is Farigiraf. Farigiraf is really, really sick because in the face of Tailwind, what is better than Trick Room? I think Trick Room is just really, really ridiculously good right now, but it's just kind of hard to make a team around it or to try to implement it into your team. I love Trick Room, but I think this is probably one of the best ways to do it, right? It's got this beautiful Tail Room mode, whereas, like, I think Aerodactyl has fallen off quite a bit, especially with the rise of Whimsicott Glimmora, but Aerodactyl works so perfectly here because you don't necessarily want to bring the Whimsicott if they are just setting up Trick Room. So it kind of leaves it up to the Farigiraf player to dictate the pace of the game. And I think it just makes this team really, really strong. It allows them to run a very bulky Charizard. Sylveon is, like, one of the only other fairy types in the game besides Floette. So I think this is a great way to get fairy coverage. And if you look at these teams, there's very few Pokemon that truly resist Fairy, right? Like, it's very hard to find any outside of course, Charizard. He's like the star guy, but most teams are lacking Fairy resist outside of this one, right? This one gets Glimmora and Charizard, but even still, like, this team, it's got just him. This team has just Charizard, just Delphox, just Charizard, right? Usually there's only one Fairy resist at a time, so I think it is very, very valuable to have something like Sylveon. Basculegion is always the GOAT, one of the greatest Pokemon in the format. He's the best Pokemon in the format. Who are we kidding? He's #1 in usage now. He is popping the fuck off. He's just the best guy. Garchomp, always very reliable. Some could say he's also very good. He's very durable. He's just so bulky, and he can just trade well with almost everything. So you just kind of get to use all of the best Pokemon on one team. And then Farigiraf, right? Like, these Pokemon are all very, very exceptional, and Farigiraf's there to help make sure that we're able to do that. And I think it just catches a lot of people, like, it's just hard to approach. It doesn't catch people off guard. It's hard to approach in team preview. Is it Tail Room? Is it Trick Room? Is it Trick Room or Tailwind? I don't know. And that's what I think makes this team so potent right now. And you're going to need to make sure you're able to have some sort of matchup into it, because I expect this team to continue doing well, especially in Europe. I expect it to pop off there. So next up we have Alex Soto, also known as Len. Len was a hard Trick Room connoisseur, but now has turned into quite the Perish Trap connoisseur. So I feel like this is a very, very good base Perish Song team, right? The idea is extremely simple. we lead Gengar and Incineroar, we Mega our Gengar, we trap them in, and then we press Fake Out, Perish Song, Protect, and you can get really, really creative. There's a lot of really cool things you can do as the Perish player. You can switch in your healing Pokemon, you can bring in Politoed, you can set up Encore Disables, right? We have Disable, but the most important thing is every single Pokemon on our team has to have Protect, so we're able to Perish Song, right? Como as well is really interesting because you can Perish Song next to him, and you can put a lot of pressure on like, hey, Como is setting up, but also Perish Song is happening. Like, what am I supposed to do, right? It's a very, very cool late game tool, especially if he's one of your last Pokemon. But what's also very cool about Como here is that obviously the Perish, all these Pokemon are about enabling Perish, right? Same with this Encore Tinkaton. But what's also cool is that Como can abuse these tools as well. You can just lead Incin plus Como, Fake Out Klingori's Soul, and just get going. And you can just go absolutely nuts. You obviously could do the same with Tinkaton plus Como. There's a lot of cool pieces. Encore Disable is also just really good. Like, you don't even need to perish sometimes. Like, just trapping them in with an Encore Disable can be very, very difficult to deal with. You just have to really understand what the Perish player can do and try to avoid it, and sometimes it's just hard to do. There's so many things coming at you. They're always in the driver's seat because you are forced not to switch, and I think it kind of like it almost makes sense that he was a hard Trick Room player, now is hardcore playing Perish, because they're kind of the same thing. You just want to get the most out of your Perish turns, or with hard Trick Room, you just want to get the most out of your Trick Room to try and put as much pressure as humanly possible so that you win in those 4 turns. So I think it's a very cool team. It's a very, very simple, strong Perish team that is just basically just trying to do that one thing. But it went really, really deep in the tournament, going 8-2. Next up, we have Donald Smith. The only Scovillain in Top Cut, by the way, and also the only Mega Tyranitar as well. Donald is a pretty strong player, obviously, popping off the kind of crazy set on Tyranitar as well. Yeah, it's a weird team because I feel like the Sand teams we've been seeing as well just don't have all these pieces together. It's very, very similar to one of the teams that won one of the previous Victory Road tournaments, but instead of Basculegion has instead Rotom Wash. But yeah, it's kind of the normal Sand guys, right? Like, if we ignore Scovillain, we've got Tyranitar to help enable Excadrill. We have Excadrill to Earthquake with our boy Corviknight and Rotom, so we need those Levitators. And then we have Sneasler, kind of just there to enable everybody, put pressure with Fake Out. I think also having close combat, like having that fighting coverage, is really, really valuable. And yeah, I think Sneasler's just a good mon, right? We can Fake Out Tailwind, we can set stuff up. Corviknight is a very, very exceptionally strong Pokemon, but only really gets to shine on Sand, in my opinion, right? Like, he's solid, but being weak to Charizard sucks. But when you have Sand, that's not a problem. And I also think that's why we're seeing Scovillain here as well. I think Scovillain is very, very good, but at the same time, he loses to Charizard. And when the entire metagame is composed of Charizard, Scovillain has a hard time finding, a moment to shine. But on Sand, it makes sense because now Charizard has to worry about the Sand guys. So Scovillain is much more bringable into those types of teams. Nothing too crazy. High horsepower is pretty wild. Over something traditionally like, what is usually a low kick is usually what's there. But we do have Sneasler, we do have Excadrill, we do have Scovillain, so stuff like King Gambit I can see getting around that. And then you have high horsepower, just as a really strong ground coverage. I think ground coverage is also really nice if you're hitting Pokemon like Sneasler. I'm trying to think of what else it's really. Like, you do get to hit the steals harder, but you just don't get to hit King Gambit harder, right? Like, but like Aegislash, you don't really even care about. I don't know. High horsepower, I'm really not fully sure what high horsepower is, why it's better, but like I see the need to not have low kick, but still, kind of a cool Sand team. Sand obviously isn't performing as well, but we see one right here. Sand still popped off. Next up, we have again this is the team, right? Like, we talked about this one. This is the Trick Room Sun team, but this one is like the most boring bar for bar Sun team that just completely changed the metagame. So first things first, we got Charizard, we got Whimsicott, right? The main idea here is that Whimsicott Glimmora is just absolutely disgusting. Glimmora was being slept on for a while and then just popped off, and it became one of the biggest meta threats in the entire game right now. We're even seeing, like, if we look back here, like, we see only 2 Glimmoras here, but like, boom, boom. We actually see it on Rain here. We see the Charizard. We see Floette Glimmora. We see this team again. And honestly, there weren't a ton of them. There weren't a ton of Glimmoras. But yeah, this is like the Sun team that kind of like pushed the metagame forward. And it also introduced us to Whimsicott Sun. which is very, 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 very strong, just very, very potent. So this is like the base team, right? We got Charizard, the simple moves. He's about dealing damage, trying to put as much pressure as humanly possible. You pair that with Whimsicott so you can set up Tailwind, keep the speed up, because Charizard's one weakness right now is he's pretty bulky, he hits really hard, but if you run a lot of bulk stat points, you don't have room for speed. So we pair him with Whimsicott, which allows us to just spam Tailwind and just allows us to be bulky and strong, do a ton of damage with Charizard. And then we have Charizard's best friend Garchomp here. He likes to party. He likes to press Earthquake next to both of these Pokemon realistically, but also Garchomp's just one of the best Pokemon in the game. And then surprisingly, you pair him with Basculegion just because Basculegion and Sun is kind like he pairs so well with Charizard, right? Like a lot of the Pokemon that Charizard hates seeing, Basculegion loves to see, and vice versa, right? Like they cover each other pretty well. And then Basculegion, surprisingly, in the Sun does work really, really well, even though it seems super, like I've never seen two Pokemon that clash so hard but have become like staples together, right? Like they have so much anti-synergy, but the thing is Basculegion just needs to press last respects. This one actually has Mystic Water though to get those really crucial KOs, like being able to threaten Charizard in the Sun, which is really cool. And it's just it gives you really strong beefy Aqua Jets. Again, you also don't have to Mega, or you can just lead Basculegion plus Whims, Basculegion Chomp, whatever. So you can just open with him and then come up later. Bring in Charizard later, or vice versa. You can open with Charizard and then just last respects everybody. And then King Gambit, he's a demon. He's one of the best Pokemon in the entire format. He also gives you a really good matchup into opposing King Gambits. Like one of the best ways to deal with King Gambit is just to low kick King Gambit. So having that is really nice. Also, Basculegion can be a little spooky, so we have King Gambit. And then I talked about Glimmora earlier. One of the cool things about this team too is every Pokemon has Protect, right? We have Protect on all the Pokemon, Spiky Shield, but we have Protect on everything, so we're able to stall with the Toxic Debris. This meta is extremely, extremely physical, so having that defensive tool of Glimmora, like, right, they have to hit you, they proc the Toxic Debris, you're chilling, dude, and you can play Poison Stall. All these Pokemon are super bulky, super durable, so you're able to just say, hey, if they hit me with some physical moves to KO my Glimmora, I'm chilling, I'm having a good time. So I think this team is just, it's so well made. It's such a good Sun team, and I think it's easily one of the best teams in the entire format so far. And we see it here. I'm not going to break down everything again. I think this one is almost exactly the same, but actually opting for Iron Head instead of Low Kick, which I think can be kind of cool, especially in the mirror, because you're able to lead it into the Whimsicott Glimmora, because usually when these teams fight each other, they lead Whimsicott Glimmora, but if you have Iron Head, you're able to potentially lead King Gambit and put pressure onto these two, which I think is kind of neat. But everything else is the exact same, so we don't have to talk about that team too much. But we are firmly into top 8 here. So next up, we have Frostlass, actually. So Frostlass is a Pokemon that hasn't been seeing a lot of love. It dominated the early format, but as time went on, the meta shifted. We saw Frostlass fall off really hardcore, mainly because of the rise of Charizard. Charizard started winning every tournament. He started putting on his performances, right? And Frostlass, unfortunately, hates Charizard. So the Frostlass players have to work really, really hard to try to come up with answers to beat Charizard, while the Charizard players naturally just have a great matchup into your Mega. We haven't seen a ton of Frostlass Double Mega, but that is something you can do. This team actually isn't Frostlass Double Mega, but instead decided to rely on Hisuian Arcanine to beat Charizard. And I know from personal experience that when I see this guy as a Charizard player, it's over, dude. I am signing the slip. I'm hitting run. He is so brutal, especially with this cool Rock Head Sash set. It allows you to do insane damage with Head Smash and Flare Blitz, and you also still have that consistent Rock Slide damage and the flinch chance. It's brutal. Also, you have Blizzard plus Rock Slide. That's kind of gross. It definitely can sneak you some wins that you don't deserve, but hey, fair is fair. You get to Rock Slide, you get to do it, right? But I think he's such a great partner for Frostlass, and I think this team is such a cool slight adaptation on improving Frostlass as a Pokemon. Because I think, like, a lot of the Pokemon still hate seeing Frostlass, right? Garchomp is everywhere. There's Aerodactyl. We see Mega Dragonite coming up. There's a ton of Pokemon, Whimsicott, who hate seeing Frostlass. So being able to run it is very, very cool. It's just trying to figure out how, and I think Mega Arcanine could be one of those answers to help enable Frostlass. Frostlass plus Sneasler is classic. Like, these 4 Pokemon are just godlike together, right? You get to lead Sneasler, Frostlass, press Fake Out, press Aurora Veil, you're chilling. Or you lead King Gambit plus Frostlass. Set up Aurora Veil, you're chilling, you're going. Same with Basket Legion, he's no longer threatened from Sucker Punch KOs. Like, these 4 together are incredible. It's just really that Charizard matchup that gives you so much frustrations. Obviously, Frostlass is neat because it can turn off the sun. In certain situations, you can switch it in and stuff like Basket Legion can get a KO. But then also the last Pokemon here I think is really important because now that all the Charizards have Whimsicott, you kind of need Whimsicott on the other teams as well. Otherwise, you're just going to lose the Tailwind War. So we see Whimsicott as well to try and match those Charizards, put that pressure on with the Hisuian Arcanine and the Frostlass to get those KOs. So very, very sick team. And I'm very curious to see how much Frostlass we see going forward, because I think this is a really cool adaptation to help make Frostlass meta again. So this team is very similar to the team I talked about earlier, except it isn't. It's actually more Trick Room focused, right? We'll start with this Ensign. This is crazy. We have Charcoal Ensign paired with Ferrograph. Now, back a while ago, back in the the Stone Ages at this point, we did see a lot of Ferrograph plus Incineroar, mainly paired on a Sun Torkoal team. So you press Fake Out, you set up Trick Room, and I think that idea works here really well. Since Incineroar is so not popular, it's really easy to get Incineroar to actually do the sweeping. I think the Charcoal Incineroar set is so fire. And what's so cool about this team is you can just lead Incin plus Ferrograph, Fake Out Trick Room. They don't get to fake you out because we have Armor Tail, so it's a guaranteed consistent Trick Room. The team we talked about earlier doesn't have that guaranteed safe setup for Trick Room, but this one does. So we can set up Fake Out Trick Room and then just start going crazy with Sylveon. But the beautiful thing about this team, much like the other one, is we also have Tailwind. But instead, this time we have Sash Aerodactyl. So now we can set up Trick Room, we can start sweeping this way, or we can just set up Tailwind, and Sylveon functions perfectly in Trick Room and in Tailwind. And then our last 2 Pokemon is obviously Charizard. I don't even want to waste my breath. He's broken. He's insane. He's so goated, pairs so well with Aerodactyl, who also has Wide Guard, which is very cool, very strong. But we have Mega Garchomp? Like, what? I mean, Mega Garchomp is just so crazy to me because it's just like the ability sucks. You lose speed, but at the same time, you get some bulk, you get some damage, and I think Garchomp is one of the best Pokemon, and he's so hard. He's so hard to get rid of, man. So like maybe Mega Garchomp could be good. We actually saw a couple, we see Mega Garchomp here, but then I also remember seeing like another one down here. Maybe we didn't. I know there's another player who used Mega Garchomp. But yeah, he's here. Mega Garchomp's here. I don't understand why. I think it's just a bulk, and I think like it's kind of cool in Trick Room, I'm not gonna lie, when you cut your own speed, right? Like, because you could be a relatively fast Garchomp ready to trade with the other Garchomps, but then you go, Trick Room's up. Dare I say it's time to slow my speed, right? Or also, I think Charizard just has a lot of bad matchups sometimes. Like, because he's the best Pokemon in the game, you have to respect him and you have to deal with him. So being able to have a second Mega is super valuable. I think a lot of teams do benefit from double Mega. I'm a huge fan of it myself. So hey, let's just put it on the Garchomp, get him going, because at the end of the day, he doesn't really need an item to succeed. He is one of the best Pokemon in the game. We see Citrus Berry, we see he runs a variety of items, but sometimes it's just all about bulk, and if Mega does that, fuck it. Very cool team. Yeah, yeah, he did have the little thing. I swear there's another Mega Garchomp, but maybe I'm tripping. Ooh, the poor Charizard X's. But yeah, okay, so that was Mega Garchomp. That was nuts. And then we have in 5th place here is Tabu with a Delphox team. Now, Delphox is a Pokemon that, I mean, is it the only one in day 2? Dare I say? It was the only one in day 2. Delphox is a Pokemon that has fallen off so hard. And obviously, the big reason why is Basket Legion and also King Gambit, right? But at the same time, it's one of the very few Pokemon that does resist fire, resist fairy. There is a lot of value to having Delphox. I think also Substitute's very good. It's good into Gengar. It's basically just kind of good into the things that body Floette, specifically Gengar, Charizard, stuff of that nature. And it's also just like very flexible to like swap between these 2 Megas, because you do just have some of these best supports and you can kind of enable Delphox as well. But this team is a Floette team, true and true, right? Like, we have Draining Kiss, Calm Mind, Floette, paired with Incineroar, paired with Sinestro. Like, we're just trying to set this guy up for success and just try to sweep with Floette every time, make it unkillable. We have 2 Fake Out users and we have Sinestro, it's going to be hard to take this thing down. But then we also have Sash Basculegion. Like, if they do get through our setup guys, our supports, then this guy comes in and he says, hey, they did enough damage. It's time to press last respects and end your entire run. So I think it's very cool. I think the Delphox is kind of crazy, but at the same time, it kind of makes sense, specifically to help with stuff like Gengar, Charizard, stuff of that nature. Yeah, and I mean, like, we do have Rage Powder, we do have Fake Out to help enable the Delphox as well and substitute. So I could see it getting through some of the Pokemon that Delphox finds very annoying, like Scarf Basculegion, like King Gambit as well. And also Scarf Basculegion, it's still there. It's still very, very good. But I would say it's falling off, like, I don't want to say it's falling off at all, because it's still very strong, but its usage is dropping a little bit. And I think that helps Delphox out a lot. Like, Delphox still hates Basculegion, but it's nice when you can at least press Psyshock into it, right? Like, you can move before it, and maybe if you broke its sash, you can end up dealing with it. So I think that Delphox has a little bit more stability in the format, but it's still crazy to see, honestly. Shout out to Delphox and shout out to Tabu for doing so well. Next up here, we are into top 4. We have Shohei Kimura, also known as Zine, also known as the 2023 World Champion, rocking a Mega Dragonite and Mega Charizard team. Mega Dragonite, we see one in cut here. There's one here, right? There's one from Ko. There's one from there are only Japanese players using Mega Dragonite. That's actually kind of crazy. But Mega Dragonite's really interesting. If you look at his stats, it actually looks like you're cheating. But the thing is like, he's just not. I think he's really good, but at the same time, he's just kind of a stat stick. He's not like super exciting. I mean, so is Charizard, to be fair. But the one thing he's so good at is bodying Charizard. He's so good into Charizard. I'm sure if you've played enough games of Charizard, you've encountered this guy. And when you hit him with a Heat Wave, you go, holy shit, I'm fucked. He's outspeeding me and I did like 20%. He's so good at slaughtering Charizard. So I think it's kind of cool to run him as a double Mega. The thing is, too, he synergizes so well with like Garchomp, right? Especially with this Roselli Berry Garchomp, your shared weakness of Fairy is not a big deal. Again, like Frostlass, we haven't seen a ton of it. And spoiler alert, it did win, but Frostlass hasn't been like super prominent. So Dragonite, he seems like he's in a pretty decent spot to be chilling right now. I think he's also just like, this guy's just a damage dealer, so pairing him with Tailwind's really nice. The Sash is pretty crazy because most of them are running Fairy Feather, so having that Sash does, you have to be a little bit more honest with him. He's hard to KO as it is. You got to hit him twice. That's brutal. And you, especially into the Sun Mirror, you can just lead him into Charizard and you don't feel that bad. But yeah, I think Mega Dragonite, he's weird, right? Like, I think he's strong into Garchomp, or into Charizard. He's strong into Garchomp as well. He's very very fast. All the Pokemon are very bulky right now. So obviously we see this timid Dragonite. It's going to outspeed most Garchomps and Dragonites and Charizards, which I think is very, very valuable. It outspeeds Glamora as well. Like, it's a speedy Pokemon, and it's kind of outspeeding the entire format outside of like the really, really fast guys like Scarf Bask or, like Sneasler or something. Or Frostlass. But for the most part, I think Dragonite is in a very, very solid spot right now. And I think he's very interesting. He's very interesting to me. Because like on paper, he seems just okay. But he got top 4 in this tournament. We've seen him be used quite a bit online. And I don't know. I feel like he's been slowly climbing the ranks in terms of viability. Obviously, he's never going to scratch the surface of like Charizard. But I think he's good. And I think he pairs well with these Pokemon here. Garchomp also just really good with either Mega, which makes it even easier. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm a really big fan of Double Mega, so I do like seeing them together. And yeah, and then we just have the normal offenders, right? Like King Gambit, Basculegion, 2 goats. Citrus Berry Basculegion I've seen less and less of. I think Sash is definitely like the more popular one right now. Like Sash, Scarf are like still probably the most popular. I think Citrus fell off a little bit, but at the same time, it's still great, right? It just lets you run a very, very bulky Basculegion. You can still last respects, checkmate the game, right? But it just allows you to live a Sucker Punch, heal up a little bit, and then start Wave Crashing or do whatever you need to do. No low kick on King Gambit. We're relying mostly on that Charizard, Dragonite, and Garchomp. So very, very cool team from Zine, as is the norm. And then next up, we got Kevin Hahn. This was actually nuts. We have the 2 brothers, Kevin and Christopher Hahn, here in 2nd place. Kevin actually went 10-0. The only person Kevin lost to was the finalist. So Kevin had an insane insane run. And I believe Kevin is, oh, I know Kevin is still in seniors. So this is a senior level player dominating this tournament, which is honestly very hype. I love when a senior comes into the Masters division. Like, we've seen so many of them just come into the Masters division, completely dominate the game. And I mean, we've seen James Evans just last year. Like, he started playing in seniors as well. He's making the world's finals. He's won internats. Like, I think like when you're good in seniors, it does mean something. And I think like this isn't even good in seniors, dude. This is good in a Masters mostly tournament, right? Like, this guy's popping off, getting third, going 10-0 with this kind of interesting team. So we mentioned earlier, like, I really liked Fergaraf because it allows you to run this tail room mode, and it makes Mega Aerodactyl's job a little less stressful, right? Because in the Tailwind mirror, Aerodactyl sucks into Whimsicott, but this team doesn't have Trick Room. It's just using, well, okay, so right here it does show Fergaraf, but I think it's just a bug. So I'm just clarifying that it doesn't have Fergaraf here. But I think this team is just so crazy strong. Instead of running Fergaraf, Kevin decided to run a what was the Pokemon that it was over? Oh, King Gambit. So he decided to run King Gambit instead, which just gives you just one of the best guys, right? Like, Fergaraf is great, it's fine, except Trick Room. But let's just replace that with one of the best Pokemon in the game right now, which is King Gambit. So now you have a little bit of Sucker Punch pressure. You have a Steel type. You can put on Priority Pressure as well, or Sucker Punch pressure, Priority Pressure, same thing. So you're able to set up Tailwind potentially. Also, this set is crazy. No Protect Mega Aerodactyl. I imagine this thing is really bulky to try and get its job done. Still very fast because it's Jolly, but I think you can run some bulk on him. Maybe live a Power Gem. Maybe try to set up that guaranteed Tailwind. But then when you play into Glamora, it can get really awkward. But that was no deterrent here. Even though there is no other Tailwind setter, we just have Aerodactyl. We're able to trade there, and I'm sure that he's got some really good game plans in that Glamora team, and they clearly worked. Wide Guard is a very good move right now, also amazing with Charizard. It just makes some of the Pokemon that normally check Charizard really bad, right? Like Garchomp no longer can like one-shot you or like get close to it, right? And you can just start firing back with Solar Beams or Heat Waves, right? They can keep that pressure on, and if they ever waste a turn into Wide Guard, it feels so bad. I also really love like just having Aerodactyl plus Charizard in general. Like, you don't need to Mega him for him to be useful. And I think that's really cool for Aerodactyl as well. It just gives him more utility on the team. And then obviously we have the other Pokemon that all of these Pokemon love to sweep in Tailwind, right? We have spread moves on like everything. We got Heat Wave, we got Rock Slide, Hyper Voice, Earthquake, Rock Tomb. We have Rock Tomb, not Rock Slide. And then we just have two of the best guys in the game. I think it's just a really cool team. It is pretty boring, but at the same time, I think like the choices that he made were a little bit risky and a little bit like not as intuitive in the current metagame, especially when Whimsicott is everywhere. Running just Whimsicott and no Fergaraf, or just running Aerodactyl, sorry, and no Fergaraf, that's a bold call, and it clearly paid off. And it just kind of opens you up to run just a better Pokemon in that King Gambit. So congrats to Kevin for going as deep as he did with like a very strong team. I wonder how much we're going to see of this team, because I think it does look pretty good. And then, okay, this is where things get a little crazy. So we have double Kleavor in the finals. Now, Kleavor is a Pokemon, I would say before this tournament, I knew of him. I know what Kleavor does. But the thing is, I just thought he was like kind of solid. He was like, okay, very annoying for Charizard, but I wouldn't have ever predicted him to get first and second in this tournament the week before one of the biggest NA regionals ever, right? Like before the NA regional, like first ever NA regional champs tournament, Kleavor just wins this big tournament. I'm sure that's going to shake up the metagame. And it's very interesting because what Kleavor does is he just bodies Charizard. He is so good in Charizard. So this is Christopher Hahn, Kevin Hahn's brother. Christopher Hahn is, I believe, a second-year master, I want to say. Very new to Masters either way. And he's been very consistent. One of the best players in North America, honestly. I would say consistently ending, like, every tournament I see him play, he's either in cut or he missed cut by, like, one win. So he's always, like, top 32 to top 16 range. Very consistent. I don't know if he's gotten top 8 this year yet, but he has in the past. Very strong player. And we're seeing Kleavor here. Kleavor is just so absurd because if you lead Charizard, it feels bad, right? If I lead Kleavor and you lead Charizard, unfortunately Charizard dies to the Scarf Stone Axe, right? But what Stone Axe does that is so beautiful and so specific to this metagame is that it sets up rocks. So if you set up rocks normally are just not very good in doubles. They're not super strong. But the thing is, if you set up rocks into Charizard, he takes half his HP on coming in, right? So basically, if I bring Charizard into this team, he's either dying on the lead, or I have to accept the fact that I'm playing with a half HP Charizard. That's crazy. That's crazy strong. When we look at this cut, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the 12 teams had Charizard, right? Including the guy with the Kleavor. 7 of the teams had Charizard, right? And I mean, we can just scroll a little bit. You can see him. He's popping up every other. There's even Charizard X's, man. But the thing is that it just gives the Kleavor player such an advantage. Like, you don't even have to think. You can just say, hey, you have Charizard, I'm leading Kleavor. I'm going to Stone Axe you turn 1, and I want to see what you're going to do about it. But the thing is, too, with the Scarf set, you don't even have to do that. You can just U-turn out, come back in, and just start smacking him later. But also, what's so cool about Stone Axe specifically is it breaks Focus Sashes. Focus Sashes are some of the best, it's like one of the best items in the whole game. So upon switching in, if the Basculegion is in the back waiting to sweep you with its Focus Sash, it can no longer do that. I think it was just an incredible call, clearly. I mean, clearly these two players who both rank Kleavor on two very different, well, not very different teams. It is a 5-mon mirror. But opting to run Kleavor right now is a very cool choice, and it clearly paid off in this tournament. Super well. I'm very curious to see how strong Kleavor is going to be moving forward, but I do think it's going to shape up the metagame, right? Charizard players shaking in their boots, right? Especially like on a solo Zard team. Like if we just look here, even into his own brother, the Megas both hate Stealth Rocks. Dragonite hates Stealth Rocks because it breaks his multi-scale. Delphox hates it, right? Like, it's just getting value on almost all of these teams, like, when you play against it. So, very cool. Let's break down the rest of the team. Whimsicott obviously still needs to be there because we want to be able to match the enemy Whimsicott Tailwind teams. Sneasler's a very interesting choice on a Sun team, but at the same time, I think it's very strong. I think Sneasler on Sun is super annoying because a lot of the Pokemon that do traditionally do well into Sun hate Sneasler, right? Like Tyranitar, Excadrill, Garchomp is neutral, but I think it's just like a fast, strong fighting type Pokemon is nice. It's good into King Gambit as well. I also think into the Glimmora Whimsicott specifically, it's kind of nice to be able to threaten the Whimsicott with a turn 1 Dire Claw, and then you don't get KO'd by Earth Power. So it's a really good way to trade into that team as well. I think Sneasler's just like, it's just a strong Pokemon in general, and we're seeing it fall off a little bit. Obviously not at the top here, but I do think Sneasler is a cool pick as well. Charizard, he's boring, nothing to say there. Black Glasses is pretty cool because it allows you to one-shot the Scarf Basculegions. Just gives you that extra damage that not a lot of people will necessarily expect. Still very strong. And then, of course, we see Basculegion with that Mystic Water like we saw earlier. Just allows you to put a ton of pressure on in the sun and out of the sun with that Last Respects. You're pretty bulky with Mystic Water. And again, you can one-shot Charizard in the sun. A very cool team. Like, we see a lot of similar pieces on the other Sun teams, but at the same time, we have Sash Whimsicott, we have Kleavor, we have Sneasler, who we don't see on Sun. Black Glasses is not something we see on Sun a ton. And then we have the two very normal guys on Sun. So I think it's a very cool team, even though it is kind of boring. But yeah, just a great call. And then what's really interesting here is that we see in the other finalist team, again, it's 5 of the same Pokemon. Obviously, they're trained very differently, and we see different items even. But I don't think they work together. I don't think they work together on this team at all. But yeah, we see Frostlass winning the entire tournament. Absolute solo Frostlass as well. But again, I think what's so beautiful, it's kind of like how the Suine Arcanine is so good into... it's so strong into Charizard for Frostlass. Now we have Kleavor, who's even better into Charizard for Frostlass. So now we have this Pokemon that can help really enable Frostlass to be less afraid of the scariest Pokemon in the game to it, which is, of course, Charizard. So now we can lead Whimsicott, Kleavor, put that pressure on, and then late game, Frostlass can totally clean up a low HP Charizard. If it's at half HP, I bet you Shadow Ball easily KOs, right? Especially because we're modest. So a very cool adjustment to Frostlass. Because again, like, even if we look at this matchup here in the finals, like, a lot of these Pokemon don't like seeing Frostlass. Also, I didn't mention this, but no Garchomp on the Sun team is crazy. Very cool that it did so well and get second place, but that's a crazy adjustment and a really like scary call to make to not bring Charizard's best partner. back to the first place team. I think what's also very cool about this team is we have so many things going on here, right? We have Tailwind plus Kleavor, right? We have Tailwind plus Frostlass and Basculation. All scary, scary stuff. But then we also have Fake Out plus King Gambit. Swords Dance King Gambit is just not seen a ton, especially with Black Glasses. You're doing insane damage. And I think what's so scary about this team is you're sitting here looking at it and you're like, holy shit, I gotta account for Tailwind, I gotta account for Fake Out plus King Gambit, and I gotta account for Kleavor sweeps? What is going on, right? Like, it's just so overwhelming in team preview. And then of course you also have to account for something like Encore, right? Like, if you lead these two and you just fake out and you switch in Whimsicott and you protect it because you don't want to get faked out on, boom, you're getting encored. It's such a cool, like, there's so much going on, and it just seems like such a frustrating team to deal with as the opponent. But for the player, you're chilling, dude. You're spamming those stone axes. You're spamming, like, you can just say, hey, I think I'm just going to fake out SD and have a good time. But your opponent might just freak out because of the perceived threats that you do have. Also, Aurora Veil is really, really cool here. Pairing that with King Gambit, pairing that with Scarf Basculation, like we mentioned earlier, is really, really good. It's kind of like what makes these Frostless teams so good is the core four. And this team just opted to run Whimsicott and Kleavor instead, which I think is a very cool addition to the team, just because, you know, we got Charizard covered here, and then we have a Tailwind and even more speed control. But then if we don't need the speed control, we can just set up Aurora Veil and just start sucker punching. So congrats to Animus for winning the entire tournament. Kleavor wins the tournament. Where does that put us, dude? Where does that put us going forward? It's going to be very interesting to see. I think there is a lot of variety here. We're still seeing a decent amount. Obviously, Charizard is the king of the format. Beating Charizard is essential, and it's what you need to do on every team, even if you're running Charizard yourself. And we're seeing that a lot here, right? Charizard is trying to beat itself. We have Kleavor. We have Mega Aerodactyl, Dragonite, Mega Garchomp and Aerodactyl here, right? And then, of course, we have the classic team. So it's very interesting to see, and I'm very interested to see how the Charizard teams adjust moving forward, right? Kleavor is a huge pain in the side of the Charizard teams going into the tournament this weekend. So I'm very excited to see. I'm super excited to play myself and try out Pokemon Champions. But let me know what you guys think. What do you think is the next big meta shift we're seeing? Because I think Charizard will still be good, but maybe you got to consider running a second Mega if Kleavor's around. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.